Today is a special day as we celebrate the International Day of Zero Waste. And what a better way to mark this occasion than by showcasing initiatives that are bringing solutions and concrete action. Welcome to the Global Roundtable Mobilizing Tourism to Halve Food Waste through Recipe of Change. My name is Adriana Zacarias. I'm the Global Coordinator of Finance and Economic Transformation at UN Environment Programme, and I have the honor to be moderating the first part of this roundtable. But let me add that Recipe of Change is very close to my heart, and I'm really pleased to be here today with all of you, with our close partners, with our champions that are committed, that are acting to scale up action for sustainability and to reduce food waste. With this, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, dear colleagues, welcome to the roundtable. You will hear today very inspiring stories on how we are reducing food waste around the globe. To begin, this is my honor to invite the Executive Director of UN Tourism, Mr. Xigyun Liu, to deliver his opening remarks. Mr. Liu, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon.
We hear you very well.
Of Uzbekistan, and Your Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, dear partners, ladies and gentlemen, it's really a great pleasure for me to join today's global roundtable convened together with the United Nations Environment Programme on the occasion of International Day of Zero Waste. I would like to begin by recognizing UNEP's leadership in advancing the global zero waste agenda and for our strong partnership to bring this important conversation to the tourism sector. This year's observance carries a very clear message. Zero waste starts on your plate. And that message matters deeply for tourism. Tourism brings people together around food every single day. Food is part of what makes travel memorable. It connects visitors with places, cultures, producers, and communities. But we also know that too much of this value is being lost. Food waste is a global environmental, economic, and social challenge. At a time when millions of people face hunger and insecurity, more than 1 billion tons of food are wasted globally every year. Food loss and waste are also responsible for a significant share of greenhouse gas emissions. This is a contradiction we can no longer ignore. And in the context of geopolitical disruptions, rising costs, and pressures on global supply chains, reducing food waste is also a matter of resilience. For tourism, this should be a wake-up call, but it should also be seen as an opportunity because reducing food waste is one of the most practical and immediate ways for tourism businesses to take action. It helps to cut emissions, it improves efficiency and reduces costs, and it helps strengthen resilience across food systems and destinations. This is why today is important. Recipe of Change comes at the right moment. It offers a practical framework to help tourism stakeholders move from good intentions to measurable plans. This framework aims to unlock collaboration to accelerate solutions. At UN Tourism, we see food waste reduction as a key strategy for circularity and climate action. It is part of a broader transition towards more sustainable and resilient food system in tourism. This is why Recipe of Change is relevant to our wider program of work. It builds on the global roadmap for food waste reduction in the tourism sector, and it represents a delivery mechanism for the Tourism Food for Good initiative on transforming food systems. I would like to warmly welcome the support of the ministers of tourism that are joining us today, Turkey, Indonesia, and Peru. I would also like to congratulate the first group of launch partners joining us today. They are Accor, Constance Hotels and Resorts, Club Med, Group Posadas, Hilton, Iberostar Hotels and Resorts, Minor Hotels, Melia Hotels International, Radisson Hotel Group, Six Senses, TUI Group, EasyJet Holidays, Light Blue Consulting, and Winos. Your engagement sends an important signal. It shows that tourism is ready to move from discussion to delivery, and that leadership in this area is already underway. And if we work together, the tourism sector can make a real contribution to the global effort to halve food waste. Let's use this moment well. Let's turn awareness into action, and let's make Recipe of Change a catalyst for measurable progress across the tourism sector. Thank you very much, and I hope the roundtable is very successful. Thank you, and good to see you. Thanks.
Sorry, there was a technical issue with the mic. Apologies. Thank you very much, Mr. Liu, and thank you for listing also the impressive list of partners in the tourism sector. I like what you say. Food is what makes our travel memorable, and we need to make these memories sustainable. So I also want to say that we are deeply grateful to UN Tourism for being such a strong and committed partner in promoting and scaling up a Recipe of Change. The partnership with UN Tourism is very important for us because this allows us to ensure that this initiative is really grounded and responds to the real needs and realities of the tourism sector. And this will allow us also to put this initiative at the global scale. So now please allow me to turn to Ms. Sheila Auerkant, Director of the Industry and Economy Division and UN Environment Program. So Sheila, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Excellencies, distinguished colleagues, partners, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the United Nations Environment Program to this roundtable co-hosted with UN Tourism on the occasion of International Day of Zero Waste. We want to also warmly acknowledge the high-level representatives joining us today and congratulate this first group of the Recipe of Change launch partners. Together, you represent a significant share of the global tourism sector with over $25 billion in annual revenues and 546 million guests annually. Your leadership is therefore critical to driving change at scale. This year, the International Day of Zero Waste focuses on food waste reduction and circularity. The urgency is clear. 1.05 billion tons of food waste are generated every year globally, while 783 million people, on the other hand, face hunger. Food loss and waste account for 8 to 10% of greenhouse gas emissions and up to 14% of global methane emissions. For the tourism sector, this is not only a challenge, but it's also a major opportunity to reduce costs and strengthen resilience. Reducing food waste is one of the most immediate and cost-effective actions businesses can take to cut emissions and improve resource efficiency across their operations and value chains. The data we have shows that the average hotel saves $7 for every single US dollar invested in reducing kitchen food waste. This is exactly the purpose of the Recipe of Change. Recipe of Change was initially launched by UNEP in West Asia and drove a result that today we see can be scaled up. Through activation campaigns such as Green Ramadan in partnership with Hilton and Winnow, we've shown that combining measurement, operational action, and guest engagement delivers results. As of the first pilot year, participating hotels achieved over 60% reduction in food waste. Last year, Winnow estimated that its users are collectively saving over $100 million every year via food waste prevention. So based on this success, UNEP decided to scale what was happening in West Asia to a sector-wide global action. We're grateful to UN Tourism for joining us in leading this effort. So today, Recipe of Change follows this framework. 1, to measure food waste. 2, to implement operational solutions, to drive behavioral change, not just among staff, but also among guests, and report on progress. So what matters now is how implementation occurs. Measurement as a critical starting point to identify where waste is occurring, but measurement alone is not enough. Behavioral change is critical, both in how guests engage and of course in what happens in the kitchen. Tourism has a unique role to play here. And because tourism is growing globally, millions of people consuming food create a powerful opportunity to influence more sustainable behaviors at scale. The strong business sense is critical in this regard. So today's roundtable is about showcasing what works, the practical solutions that all of you are seeing, the kind of results that you are able to showcase, and how this can be scaled across the sector. We invite more tourism businesses to join this partnership so that we can reach the global effort to halve food waste by 2030. Let me conclude by a simple message. Reducing food waste is not only necessary, it is achievable, and the tourism sector can be a powerful driver of this transformation. We stand ready to support you and all the partners in this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sheila, and thanks for highlighting that food waste is not only an environmental problem, but it's also a social and economic challenge that we need to address. As you have heard from Sheila, we started Recipe of Change as a regional initiative. And I have to say, Sheila was someone that was challenging us here in UNEP and saying, I want to see this to be scaled globally, to bring more business, more hotels, more industry from the tourism. So Sheila, I think we can say mission accomplished or almost accomplished. So with this, colleagues, so thank you very much, Mr. Liu. Thank you very much, Sheila, for your interventions. We will move now to the second segment of the roundtable. We will listen now about governments. We will learn how they are taking leadership in translating this ambition into systemic and long-lasting change. We know, like, through robust policy frameworks, with incentives, with public-private partnerships, the governments are very well placed in really enabling the change that Recipe of Change is designed to do. We also know, and by experience and evidence, that while solutions can be implemented at the business level, their scale, the consistency, and moreover, the long-term sustainability depends on their alignment with the national priorities, with the national regulatory frameworks, and the data. So now we will hear from three different ministers around the globe, from Turkey, Indonesia, and special videos for all of you. And they want to share how their commitment, their ambition is now turning into action. So let me share first our first video. And I'm very pleased to present His Excellency Mehmet Nuri Ersoy, Minister of Culture and Tourism of Turkey. As you know, Turkey will host the upcoming COP31. And moreover, I want to highlight that Turkey is the leading voice in advancing Zero Waste Day. So I invite you to listen to the video.
Dear colleagues, distinguished stakeholders, and dear friends, it's my great pleasure to address you on the occasion of the International Day of Zero Waste. This meaningful day reminds us that protecting our planet is a shared responsibility and that sustainable resource management must guide all our policies and practices. In this spirit, Turkey remains firmly committed to advancing policies that integrate sustainability with economic growth. This approach is of particular importance for the tourism sector. Indeed, 2025 marked a remarkable year for our tourism industry, with Turkey welcoming 64 million visitors and generating over $65 billion in tourism revenues. Our country has risen to fourth place globally in terms of visitor numbers and seventh in tourism revenues. However, the sustainability of tourism depends on the preservation of our natural and cultural heritage. For this reason, the principles of zero waste and the circular economy lie at the core of our policies. The Zero Waste project, launched under the auspices of Her Excellency Mrs. Emine Erdoğan, has evolved into a strong nationwide movement embraced by a wide range of stakeholders, particularly tourism enterprises. Turkey has also taken pioneering steps at the policy level. In cooperation with the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, the Turkey Sustainable Tourism Program, launched in 2022, has become a model at the international level. Within this framework, a three-tier certification system has been introduced based on defined criteria, and compliance with these standards has been made mandatory for accommodation facilities within specified timelines. Our ultimate goal is to ensure that all facilities achieve full compliance with international sustainability standards by 2030. As of March 2026, the certification of over 2,000 facilities has positioned Turkey among the leading countries in this field. Looking ahead, we aim to extend our sustainability approach across the entire tourism value chain. A new sustainability framework for food and beverage services is currently under development and is planned to be implemented within 2026. In addition, we continue to strengthen this sector's environmental performance through innovative tools such as carbon footprint calculation. On this occasion, I am also pleased to announce that Turkey will host COP31 in Antalya in November 2026. This important gathering will provide a valuable opportunity to enhance global cooperation on climate action and to highlight the role of sustainable tourism. In conclusion, I would like to reiterate that tourism and sustainability are inseparable. Turkey remains steadfast in its commitment to building a greener and more resilient future through its zero-waste principles and sustainability-driven policies. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We have heard now the message, and once again, we want to thank Turkey for playing an important role in elevating this agenda internationally with the Zero Waste Day, which this year is focusing on food waste and circularity. So now we will move to the second video message from Mrs. Widijanti Putri Wardana, who is the Minister of Tourism of the Republic of Indonesia.
Your Excellency, Ms. Shaika Al-Nuwais, Secretary General of UN Tourism, Your Excellencies, Ministers and Vice Ministers of Tourism from our global community, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor for me to address you today to join this important conversation alongside partners from the global tourism community. My sincere appreciation goes to the UN Tourism and UN Environment Program for convening this timely roundtable and for the continued leadership in advancing sustainability within the tourism sector. Initiatives such as the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program bring forward an issue of growing urgency, how we ensure that in delivering the Sustainable Development Goals, economic growth remains aligned with environmental protection. Moreover, we mark the International Day of Zero Waste. This discussion serves as a strong reminder that the way we manage our resources today will shape the future of tourism tomorrow. Indonesia's tourism sector is intertwined with its natural environment and local communities. What we consume, what we waste, and how we manage it are realities felt directly at the destination level. Food in this context plays a vital role. Beyond being a basic necessity, it is an essential part of the tourism experience, one that reflects our heritage, creativity, and hospitality. Therefore, addressing food waste is essential to protecting the sustainability of our tourism experiences and ensuring that tourism continues to deliver meaningful benefits for our people. To achieve net zero emissions by 2060 or earlier, under Indonesia's second nationally determined contribution, we aim to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 31.89% or 43.2% with international support by the year 2030. As a signatory to the Glasgow Declaration in 2022, Indonesia is committed to advancing a clear and actionable climate agenda. In October 2023, we launched the Tourism Decarbonization Roadmap, outlining concrete steps to transition towards a lower carbon tourism sector, including minimizing food waste. Presently, Indonesia is developing a national platform to measure baseline greenhouse gas emissions for the tourism industry to be used by the entire tourism ecosystem. We also launched the Clean Tourism Movement last year, raising awareness of these issues across priority destinations and bringing on board 22 private sector partners. We are accelerating efforts in waste management. At the source, we are enforcing segregation of waste, implementing reduce, reuse, recycle principle at scale, and only sending waste residue to the final processing facilities. At downstream, we are expanding integrated processing facilities and developing waste-to-energy plants in 33 cities. Lastly, the President launched Gerakan Indonesia Asri, a national movement for a clean, healthy, safe, and beautiful Indonesia, which further underscores the importance of cleanliness and waste management as a national priority. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very pleased to learn about the Recipe for Change initiative, and I am confident that today's roundtable will serve as a catalyst for practical and scalable solutions. More importantly, it provides an opportunity for us to move beyond dialogue and into implementation by sharing experiences, identifying what works, and exploring how these approaches can be scaled and adapted across different destinations. These efforts can be taken forward by tourism industry partners, supply chains, and all stakeholders to shape both industry practices and consumer behavior. Have a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Once again, thanks to Her Excellency, Mrs. Putri Wardana, you have heard directly how committed Indonesia is in transitioning to a sustainable tourism. Very clear in what she said, how they have clear targets, how they are bringing the tourism sector also as part of the national climate agenda. And from our end, we really want to express our appreciation to the Republic of Indonesia and especially to the Ministry of Tourism for their continued support and very active participation in the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program and its initiatives. So with this, let's move to our third message. And it is my pleasure to invite you to hear now, to listen to Ms. Aziz Abdukakimov. Apologies for the pronunciation. Ms. Aziz Abdukakimov. He is the advisor of the President of Uzbekistan. And I would like to highlight that Uzbekistan is playing an increasing important role in advancing sustainable tourism. And you might know that they have been behind in promoting the International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism. So let's play the video.
Good morning, distinguished participants, dear friends. Today's Zero Waste Day serves as a clear reflection of the practical outcomes of the ongoing reforms in our country, aimed at improving waste management and ensuring the efficient use of resources. In recent years, under the leadership and initiatives of our head of the state, His Excellency President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, this sector has undergone consistent and systematic transformation. Most notable, there has been a fundamental shift in perspective. Waste is no longer perceived merely as a challenge, but increasingly as a valuable economic resource. In this context, we are steadily advancing from the traditional economic model towards a circular economy. Distinguished participants, it is essential that we approach waste reduction not only from an environmental perspective, but also through an economic and strategic lens. In particular, the dynamic development of tourism in our country is closely linked to environmental quality. A clean, well-maintained, and environmentally sustainable setting is among the primary expectations of international visitors. In this regard, effective waste reduction and management are not only environmental imperatives, but also key factors in enhancing our nation's tourism appeal. It is therefore particularly meaningful that this year's event, organized in cooperation with the United Nations Environmental Programme and World Tourism Organization, focuses on reducing food waste. This represents a concrete and timely step towards advancing sustainable tourism. From this perspective, the introduction of environmental standards in tourism sector, the rational use of food resources and reduction of waste, and the integration of resources into economic cycle are becoming priority areas of action. We have set a clear and ambitious target to reduce food waste by at least 50% by 2030. Achieving this objective will require coordinated efforts and strong collaboration at all levels. Only through joint action we can ensure a clean and sustainable environment in our country and strengthen its position as a competitive destination in the global tourism market. Allow me to take this opportunity to express my sincere appreciation for your continued efforts maintaining the cleanliness of our nation. Thank you for your kind attention. Katta rahmat.
Thank you very much. And again, we really look forward to our strongest cooperation with Uzbekistan in the International Year of Sustainable and Resilient Tourism. So we have heard a strong message that food waste is not only an environmental challenge. It has negative impacts in our society, in the economy, but we also heard that we can turn this into opportunity. as it is the case of the tourism sector. So we will move to a new segment where you will hear from the hospitality sector how they are rethinking, redesigning how they operate, how they move towards sustainability, how they are measuring and creating change along the value chains. We also heard that it's very important to move from commitment to action, but this requires to have shared frameworks, shared understanding, and collaboration. So with this, allow me now to present the coordinators of Recipe of Change, my dear friends and colleagues. And it is a pleasure to invite Svetlana Mikhalieva, who is the coordinator of One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program and the United Nations Environment Program, and also my dear colleague and friend, Virginia Fernandez-Trapa, who is the program coordinator of the UN Tourism and also supporting the work of the One Planet program on tourism. I also want to really thank you, both of you, for the great work in scaling up and bringing Recipe of Change at the global stage. So the floor is yours, and they will be now moderating the rest of the roundtable.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adriana. Thank you so much to our distinguished representatives of United Nations Environment Program and UN Tourism, their excellencies, high-level representatives of member states. Thank you very much. First of all, as a transition, I would like to thank you personally and very warmly, Adriana. For us, it's very important. It was very important to have you as moderator of this panel. And not only because we hugely appreciate you as a colleague, but because you played a remarkable role in initiating Recipe of Change in West Asia through Go for SDGs project. And for us, it's very symbolic to have you with us today at the opening of this global launch, because this initiative began with strong partnership and with concrete results on the ground. And we are launching today at global level, thanks to the foundation that you built with your team. And therefore, I would also like to extend our sincere thanks to also UNEP West Asia colleagues for their outstanding work over the years, which helped us to make it possible for Recipe of Change to now scale up globally. And to illustrate this journey, I would like to ask colleagues now to play a short video explaining how Recipe of Change was initiated in West Asia.
The fact that substantial amounts of food are produced but not eaten by humans has substantial negative impacts, environmentally, socially, and economically. 8 to 10% of global greenhouse gas emissions are associated with food that is not consumed. In 2022, the world wasted 1 billion tons of food. This amounts to 1/5 of the food available to consumers being wasted at the retail, food service, and household level. Out of the total food wasted in 2022, households were responsible for 60%, the food service sector for 28%, and the retail sector for 12%.
Our region is unique in its culture, religion, history, and hospitality. Of course, this comes at a price, as it generates a good amount of food waste during occasions and festivities. For instance, did you know that 25 to 50% of the food prepared during Ramadan is wasted in the region? Hence the idea of Recipe of Change, a solution-based initiative that tackles multiple aspects of food waste and is geared towards all stakeholders of the food value chain.
Food waste is a pressing problem globally for the hospitality landscape, and we are committed to implementing a food waste reduction program in every kitchen.
In December 2021, I joined the Recipe of Change along with 10 other chefs from the region. It was an innovative way to raise awareness about food waste reduction in our countries.
The Recipe of Change program inspired us to forensically examine all our efforts and really measure everything that we are doing across the full value chain. And the results have been staggering.
The perfect recipe was the combination of influencers, hospitality industry, data companies, all under the umbrella of UNEP.
Being UNEP's advocate on food waste in West Asia and with the recipe of change, I had access to many hotel kitchens around the world. I engaged with my community online and offline, sharing tips and easy ways to reduce food waste that can be used in any kitchen.
We're delighted to partner with UNEP and Hilton on the Recipe of Change campaign. Our technology has validated and measured the impact of this important campaign, and we're excited about the potential as we scale this up across the rest of the sector.
We have now consolidated all our experiences and know-how into a single, comprehensive toolkit targeting the HoReCa sector.
The tools and insights shared through the Recipe of Change programme equipped our team with insights to effect meaningful change at scale.
Winner uses computer vision and machine learning to pinpoint exactly where food waste is occurring within the kitchen. Last year we launched our throw and go feature. Chefs just throw the food away in the usual way and our AI takes care of the rest, automatically identifying the food that's been wasted and giving that item a cost. Teams then use that insight to pinpoint food waste areas, taking action to drive down waste while also improving the guest experience.
Intervention included recipe of change messaging, reduction of plate size and portion size, alterations to our sequence of service, and the inclusion of zero-waste cooking techniques.
Working with UNEP and our partners Winnow, we created the Hilton Green Ramadan and Green Breakfast initiatives, which were designed to tackle the primary barriers of food waste. We started the Green Ramadan campaign back in 2023 at just 3 hotels in 3 countries, serving 27,000 guests. 3 years in, we have scaled to 342,000 guests across 45 hotels in 14 countries.
With a video recipe, information sharing, and messaging, we could influence our followers, triggering behavioral change.
Recipe of Change allowed us to champion our region and share best practices and success stories.
Because each and every one of us is an ingredient in the recipe of change.
Thank you so much to our colleagues from West Asia for this very inspiring video. My chat on WhatsApp and other channels is already exploding from reactions from participants being motivated by this video. So thank you again. And for us, this video is a powerful reminder that meaningful global initiatives are built from tested experience, practical action, and strong collaboration. And at this stage, I would also like to express sincere appreciation to UN Tourism for joining the leadership of Recipe of Change together with UNEP. Sheila said it, Adriana mentioned it as well, and I'm joining to express deep gratitude. For us, this partnership is critical. It is what allows us to take this initiative from highly successful regional experience to a global platform with broader reach, sectoral mobilization at scale, and ambition to support tourism stakeholders worldwide. Virginia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Svetlana. What can I say? I would like to join you in thanking Executive Director Liu, Director Agarwal, the ministers and high-level speakers that are supporting this endeavor, and of course, Adriana, for the inspiration to be able to take this initiative forward. At UN Tourism, we are delighted to partner with UNEP in this new initiative, which complements our ongoing work within the framework of the One Planet Sustainable Tourism Program, work on climate action through the Glasgow Declaration on Climate Action in Tourism, and also work on circularity through the Global Tourism Plastics Initiative. So it's now our pleasure to introduce a Recipe of Change, our new joint global initiative to accelerate food waste reduction in tourism. This initiative comes at a very important moment. Food waste, we've heard it, is increasingly recognized not only as an environmental issue, but also as an economic, operational, climate, and social issue. At the same time, tourism is uniquely positioned to be part of the solution because food service is such a central part of the visitor experience. Recipe of Change is about helping the tourism sector move from awareness to implementation and from ambition to measurable results. Food waste matters for tourism because it is both a major challenge and a major opportunity. Food service generates 20% of global food waste, and food waste is responsible for an estimated 8 to 10 global greenhouse gas emissions. We know that every dollar invested in reducing food waste can save $7, and for the tourism sector, this means that addressing food waste is one of the most immediate and cost-effective opportunities to reduce environmental impacts, improve operational efficiency, and strengthen resilience. This is why food waste must be treated not as a side issue or dish, but as a strategic priority for sustainable, competitive, and resilient tourism.
And just to stay a bit more on the previous slide, thank you, Roxana. The purpose of a Recipe of Change is to mobilize, first of all, tourism businesses, chefs, and influencers to help halving food waste by 2030, to support the implementation of global roadmap for food waste reduction in tourism, to development of which, by the way, many of you connected today have greatly contributed, and also to turn global ambition into measurable action. And what is important here is that a Recipe of Change is not just another awareness campaign or a pledge. It is a practical implementation platform designed to support the sector in taking action in a structured and credible way. And it connects the global agenda on 12.3 and food waste reduction with everyday operational reality of hotels, resorts, restaurants, tour operators, cruises, and other tourism stakeholders.
Virginia connection is broken, so if you don't mind to continue, Svetlana.
Of course, we are a team and always work hand in hand with Virginia, so I'm covering, no worries. So Recipe of Change helps also partners, as we mentioned, to move from ambition to action and in concrete manner. First, as I mentioned, the idea is to align with 12.3. You can stay on the previous slide, Roxana, thank you. Second, it supports the measurement of food waste through practical tools and reporting templates. And my colleagues will be sharing with you directly in the chat here series of practical tools we have been developing and actually launching at the same time as the initiative. So basically, when you connect to the website of the Recipe of Change, you will be already able to download series of checklists, stencils, case studies, and very, very practical solutions how to start implementing as of today. And then the initiative also helps identify, implement operational solutions in kitchens, menus, buffet, procurement. Procurement is absolutely key approach here. And of course, and it was also one of the reasons why we felt like this approach was standing out, is we are supporting behavioral change, both among guests and among staff. And these are the core pillars that explicitly set out in the discussions that we will be having today with our panelists. And this is the essence of Recipe of Change. Align the vision, build the skills, and drive the change. And I see my colleague Virginia is back. Virginia.
Thank you so much. Sorry for this connection problem. And
no
thank
worries.
you for covering, as usual, my twin. Yeah, I may have lost a bit track, but basically just to reiterate, the initiative is really designed for a wide range of stakeholders. And we are looking forward to working with hotel groups, with restaurants, with cruise lines, airlines, tour operators, as well as chefs, influencers, and supporting organizations. We have different signatory packs trying to tailor, to guide how the commitments need to be developed in a tailored manner to encompass how each business is operating. And yeah, just in a nutshell, joining comes with clear commitments to measure food, to set targets, to implement solutions, and to report progress. So it's both flexible and accountable, and we are here to support.
And let's go to the next slide. And in return, signatories gain invisibility, access to tools that I mentioned, to practical resources, again, checklists, stencils, case studies, cost estimations, and also opportunities to learn from peers across the globe and across regions like we are going to do today. And they also become part of the global community, working together to reduce food waste and transform food systems in tourism. Next.
So joining is straightforward. As I was mentioning a few seconds ago, there's a tailored set of commitments depending on the type of organization that you are, and a simple process to formalize participation. Our objective is really to make it as practical and accessible as possible while maintaining credibility and impact.
Thank you, Virginia. And though those preferring to use links instead of QR codes, I will ask my colleagues to post in the chat directly links to our website where you can download the signatory forms and learn a bit more about the asks from applicants and potential signatories. So looking ahead, we have three main priorities that will guide our work in the coming months. First, we will establish a working group on behavioral change messaging to better align ambition and support effective campaigns. We will also expand the network of signatories ahead of COP31 in Turkey, positioning food waste as key mitigation opportunity for the tourism sector. And then we also be working closely with partners to develop practical reporting approaches that reflect operational realities across the sector. And now I would like to transition to another point in our agenda that will allow us to illustrate what recipe of change looks like in practice. And I would like to turn to a really concrete and extremely inspiring example. You have seen this already in the video earlier shown today. Over the past years, Hilton and Vino have been working very closely with our UNEP West Asia colleagues on the implementation of Recipe of Change through the Green Ramadan campaign. And this collaboration has generated very tangible results, combining measurement, operational improvements, and behavioral change interventions. So it is my honor and pleasure to invite Nikki Walsh, Senior Director, Food and Drink Marketing and Public Relations from Hilton, and David Jackson, Marketing Director from Vino, to share their experience and impacts achieved. Colleagues, the floor is yours, and may I ask my colleagues to share your presentation.
Svetlana, thank you so much. Adriana, Virginia, Sheila, Paolo as well. I don't know if he's on the call. Tarek, Sarah, when she used to be part of the Recipe of Change too. We've had so many amazing partners in the last 4 years, is it, David? And it's been such an amazing journey. Thank you so much. And to all you change makers, excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to be here on behalf of Hilton and obviously Winnow. So we're just going to share over the next few minutes our recipe of change, so I'm going to take you on a little timeline, talk about, there's another video. Some of the content has been touched on in the opening video sequence, but it's an impact film we created back in 2023. I think it's really important to show you. Then we'll talk about the different kind of approaches and the consistency in the approach over the last few years and where we are today. So if I can have the next slide, please. So this is our timeline, and really it's been an incredible journey, like I said, and we are all ingredients, as you rightly said, in this recipe. 29th of September 2022, Emma, my boss, and I went to see the launch of Recipe and Change back in UAE in Dubai. Sammy was there with Tarek, Chef Layla, and shared those really alarming statistics around Ramadan specifically, but also food waste in general, and what we could feasibly do to change our modus operandi. On the strength of that, we launched Green Ramadan 2023, 3 hotels, 3 countries, and in 1 month we saw a 62% reduction in food waste in just 30 days through taking a very regimented approach, and with obviously our amazing partners Winnow. We then went on straight away to create the Green Breakfast Initiative, understanding breakfast is a massive waste landscape in the hospitality environment. Whoever you are, wherever you are the world over, we all suffer the same challenges and opportunities. 13 hotels across UAE, UNEP, it was the inspiration. NAMA came in as a key partner. And then we saw in 4 months on the path to COP28, a 61% reduction in food waste in the breakfast environment, outlining so many different interventions and possibilities that could fundamentally change our industry. That took us to COP28. And also with Winnow providing a brilliant API, we started contributing to the national baseline, which is so important, that data collection and the insights that come from it. Fast forward 2024, Green Ramadan scaled to 32 hotels in 7 countries, seeing a further 21% reduction. I know what you're thinking, there's going to be no food waste left anywhere. That's the hope. And that was across EMEA, the region we cover, but also our colleagues in Asia Pacific also joined, which is a really monumental moment as the movement gathered pace. 2025 was amazing. 45 hotels, 14 countries. And from week 1 to week 4, we saw a 26% reduction. Then we were very honoured to be recognised as the world's leading sustainable partnership at last year's World, I always get this wrong, it's a big mouthful, Sustainable Tourism and Hotel Awards, Hospitality Awards rather. And then we just concluded Green Ramadan 2026. And for obvious reasons, that's not been the easiest challenge to complete. If we go to the next slide, I'm going to play you a quick video.
Just give us a few seconds.
Thanks, Svetlana.
Ramadan is this month that we wait for it from one year to another. We eat together. We share this food with other people that we love.
Ramadan is a holy month where people actually reflect on the principles of it.
During religious holidays specifically, food waste increased by 25 to up to 50%. We know that food waste accounts for almost 10% of
I think now the video is going without sound. If you don't mind, we'll stop and replay again.
I think, I think we can move on to the next slide because if you're happy to, because we cover off most of the information and you've seen some of it in the opening video, but it's up to you.
Our apologies, Nikki. Let's
No
do like
problem.
that. And so sorry.
It's not
Basically,
a problem.
we has been encountering a lot of technical glitches in the preparation of this webinar, but let's take it as a very good sign. It's like, what they say about marriage, rainy wedding or something
Yeah.
like this along these lines. So
it's no problem. And we've covered off so much of the content already, so it might have even been a bit repetitive for everybody. So if we go back to the presentation, we can kind of get into the detail. Suffice it to say, there are a lot of ingredients into the recipe, lots of people from all different parts of the value chain involved. So this is an infographic of the first Green Ramadan, where we saw the 61% reduction with the 3 hotels. And you can see the loop again featured in the first video of all the key areas of focus across the value chain. If we go to 24, Ramadan 24 and the next where we scaled up, we then, the only thing that was different on the next slide, if you will, thank you, was that we added in a real focus on being plastic free as well. It's a enterprise level initiative anyway from a Hilton perspective, but we just wanted to ensure that nothing within that buffet environment was not respectful to the environment. So that saw the further reduction across the multiple hotels in 7 countries, and then you get to 2025. And the reason I've included these, because when you get the content later, you can familiarize yourself with the detail in depth. So if we go to the next slide, same approach, same process. What's been really interesting is in the waste landscape in each of the 5 experiments we've now done, is still throwing up the same problems. Bread, pastry is a huge issue. Obviously, there are nuances region in different countries. And so what that has led to is that insight from Winnow has allowed us to come up with new and better interventions every single year. If we go to 2026, the next one, what I really want to call out, and this is when you know a recipe works, is in week 2, obviously the conflict started in the Middle East. And despite that, when we held our weekly sync-up meetings, everyone attended. It never stopped them driving impact at scale or wanting to. And so it probably, I think for David and I, one of the proudest moments of the past 4 years, I know for the rest of my colleagues, I can say that's when you know you've got a good recipe. So thank you again for Recipe of Change perspective. So the results will come from Green Ramadan 26, which is still calibrating to make sure that we drive all the different insights so that we can add that into our white paper eventually. We go to the next slide. So how it works is we make our hotels apply to be part of it. Everyone's allowed to follow the principles of it, but to call themselves a Green Ramadan, just to ensure the process and make sure that we fully commit across the value chain, they have to faithfully record food waste data in both Winnow and our Lightstay, which is our award-winning ESG management platform for Hilton. They have at least one Winnow system in place, complete the self-audit checklist and crucial responsibility matrix, commit to an operational framework, sync up meetings, and take immediate corrective action. Implement sustainable practices across the value chain from local sourcing to zero waste. Print off and display, obviously, UNEP Recipe of Change messaging in their dining environments. Ensure operations are plastic free as possible. Ensure they have a procedure in place to divert any waste from landfill, whether it's donation or compost. And then lastly, they have to also support local community activation. So that's what it takes to be considered a Green Ramadan at Hilton. If we go to the next slide, so I'll power through because we're going to get to, this is the operations framework. We have corporate stakeholders like myself, like David, the hotel teams, general manager, director of operations, F&D leads, exec chefs, marketing, and HSM, if they're part of it as well, supply management. Everybody has a role to play. We have bi-weekly meetings before Ramadan and then weekly during Ramadan, and then we report on a weekly basis. And actually, the hotel teams have access to minute-by-minute reporting real time with Winnow. Once they get really good at understanding the data and leveraging the insights, that's when you really start to see that recipe come into action. So if we go to the next slide, please. This is the toolkit. This is the second iteration of that. Every year we update it with our new findings and new, inspirational stories and stuff to keep it so that they have everything in their power to. And this obviously leverages all the insight from the Recipe of Change toolkit too, and links out to that as well. Where we might not have it covered, we know that the Recipe of Change toolkit does. In the next slide, over to you, DJ.
Thank you very much, Nikki. Thank you, Svetlana and Virginia, valuable partners of Winnow for some years at UNEP and UN Tourism, and distinguished guests. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the role that technology and people play within delivering change. I think, Adriana, you summarized it well by saying we want scale, we want consistency, and we need data. And I think you need those kind of three components in order to drive change. So just very quickly about Winnow, we develop AI tools to help chefs run more profitable and sustainable kitchens by cutting food waste in half, work in about 100 countries around the world with Hilton, many of the partners on the call today. And we deliver profitable reductions by putting in place a piece of hardware that you can see here on the slide, and that goes above the bin. And then using an AI model that we have trained on over 500 million data points from food waste images around the world. In real time, we're able to help the teams to record the food that's being wasted, identify that food waste and give it a cost. Okay, so today we're saving our partners about $100 million worth of food every year, which is a big part of our mission to save $1 billion worth of food. So coming back to Green Ramadan and Green Breakfast, the reason that data is so important is that it's what drives decision making, both on the pre-consumer side, so that's food that's wasted before it gets to the guest, and post-consumer, so that's food that gets wasted after the guest has plated themselves. So we were able to give the teams, by implementing our solutions in the hotels, granular data down to the item, which would say this was the amount of a particular dish, this is the cost for that dish, and this is where in the service this food waste occurred. And we were giving that support to the teams on a daily basis. Now that's really powerful, but it only makes a difference if it's also driven by people. So one of the things that Winnow has done to deliver this change over the course of the last 3 or 4 years is really embed our customer success team into Hilton's operations. So Amina, who sadly can't be with us today, is one of the shining lights at Winnow. She really kind of has ingrained herself within the detail and is really one of the kind of driving forces in terms of the results that Nikki has shared. So this combination of really having granular visibility in terms of where food is being wasted and why, but also the people side in terms of working with the hotels to interpret that data and then drive change. And on the next slide, I can talk you through a framework that we've developed to really help to understand how plate waste in particular, which is quite a complex problem, can be solved. So if we go on to the next slide. So on the next slide, if we can move on, thank you. So with data, we're able to get down into, as I said, that granular level of detail. We're able to audit what food is coming back off the plates of guests of Hilton hotels during iftars and suhoors. And if you think about it, if you really understand that at the granular level, you can make you identify two opportunities to drive that waste down. One is on the operational side. So if we understand, for example, that bread is being wasted, as Nikki mentioned, that was one of the key waste areas that we found in Green Ramadan in 2023. The team are able to then change the service style. So rather than putting a bountiful table of breads, we're able to then reduce that down to present Arabian flatbreads, but then bread would be served tableside, keeping it hot but at the back of house, delivering a better guest experience and then driving that waste right down. So that data insight was able to reduce waste from bread during iftars and suhoors by over 70% in that first campaign. On the other side, if we really understand which items are being wasted at the self-serve counters, we can either change the way that it's served or we can introduce messaging. And so we were able to zero in on particular meat dishes, for example, take recipe of change signage and put it in exactly the right place where we knew that there was a high waste item. So again, using that granular data really to be strategic with where we place campaign messaging. So we've talked about scale, consistency, data. All of that is wrapped within a human element. And I think this is a framework that the sector as a whole can follow. So Nikki, I'll pass it back over to you to close us out.
Thanks, DJ. Just a couple more slides. And just to say that this success was almost entirely hinged on Amina from Winnow. She's a goddess of food waste. If you ever want somebody to come and check out what you need to do in your business, that's the woman to do it for 100%. So if we go to the next slide, please. And there's just a couple more bits. I reference responsibility matrix. As my boss Emma says, what gets measured gets managed. And once you understand who's doing what and who should be on the meeting calls and taking corrective action, it's amazing how much more proactive people become when they're measured on their proactivity. I'm not going to lie, there's been a lot of coercion. If we go to the next slide. This is the tracker. It's super detailed. There's a lot of effort that goes in pre-Ramadan so that we understand what they're capable of, and then we measure it against all of those data points to make sure we're doing the right thing. And then just a couple more slides and then we'll hand back over to the ladies. If we go to the next slide. You well know it's obviously changed since this look and feel a couple of different times, but this was the original recipe of change messaging. It's been super effective. We've been obviously grateful to obviously be part of that evolution of the message as well. And I think the notion of pivoting around blessing, being very culturally sensitive, was really important for Ramadan. Who are we to say somebody who's hungry after fasting all day not to waste food? It's a tricky message, and it's brilliantly put by the UNEP team. And then the next slide, sorry. Some intervention examples, plant-based dishes, brilliant way, because obviously far more sustainable. Major changes to sequence of service and SOPs, live stations versus just putting stuff out there to sit. Buffet design changes, imperative. Even when you fill up those buffets, we were timing just to make sure there was no waste. Sustainable gastronomy, reduced portion sizes, smaller plates are incredibly effective. And then staff cafeteria interventions to drive that team member understanding, binless days, meatless days, and then obviously team member training. So those are some really small intervention examples. And then I think lastly, the last slide, which is one of my favorite additions this year, was, if we go to the next one, we created a zero waste recipe bank. 69 recipes were entered. You'll see a lot of them coming out in the Winnow channels and the Taste of Hilton channels in the coming weeks and months. Brilliant innovation. And this all came from the front line, all of which was inspired by Recipe of Change, a bank of recipes of change. Thank you so much. And I think that's it.
Huge applause. It's silent applause, but huge applause to you, Nikki and David. You are hugely inspiring. And really for us, the work that you've been doing within the framework of Green Ramadan and also Green Breakfast, it was just absolutely instrumental also to mobilize for Virginia and I also internally all of the support needed to make sure this recipe of change can be scaled up globally. And your presentation just has it all. Really, we could just take it and here we go. We are not really needed. You guys just doing it fabulously. So thank you so much. And your presentation is really fantastic example to show how combination of data of operational changes and behavioral change interventions, it can really deliver measurable impact. And it shows that it's not a theory, it's really, the change is really happening, and as Adriana said, it can be done. So drum roll to my colleague Virginia. She has a big announcement now to make.
Thank you so much, colleagues Nikki and David. I joined the congratulations, and I'm now really pleased to be moving on to the next segment of our webinar today, which is the Launch Partners Roundtable. So building on the momentum of piloting Recipe of Change, we are now proud to be launching it at global scale. And we have together with us a first group of committed partners that is really a pleasure to already be working with. So our launch partners are Accor, Club Med, Constance Hotels and Resorts, EasyJet Holidays, Grupo Posadas, Hilton, Iberostar Hotels and Resorts, Meliá Hotels International, Minor Hotels, Radisson Hotel Group, Six Senses, TUI Group, Light Blue Consulting, and Winnow. So we're deeply grateful for your leadership and for helping us shape this initiative from the outset.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all. We are very honored, and we do sense the level of responsibility because you trusted us and you joined this initiative. So now we will move to our launch partners roundtable, and this discussion brings together organizations that are already taking action across different parts of the tourism sector. So now my colleague will announce the
yes, I'm
launch
pleased to invite to the screen. From Accor, we have Constance Maillard, VP of Sustainability for Middle East, Asia, and Pacific. From Iberostar Hotels and Resorts, Álvaro Sánchez López is joining us. He's Global Sustainability Director, Integration and Impact. From Constance Hotels, we have Javed Farid, Corporate Sustainability Manager. Light Blue, Benjamin Lefilibert, CEO. We also have Club Med, represented by Florian Duprat, VP of Sustainability and Philanthropy. Also with us is Radisson Hotel Group, represented by Sven Wilting, Global Senior Director of Sustainability. Meliá Hotels International with Juan Ignacio Pardo Garcia, Chief Real Estate and Sustainability Officer. Six Senses with Jennifer Clark, Director of Corporate Sustainability. And last but not least, TUI Group, Melvin Mack, Group Director Sustainability and ESG. Welcome everybody. And thank you for joining.
Thank you so much for joining again. We are genuinely grateful and very honored to have you with us today. So as you can see, the panel is full, which is really excellent, and it reflects the strong engagement and commitment of the organizations that have joined the recipe of change from the outset, and at the same time to ensure that everyone has the opportunity to contribute and that we are able to hear from our distinguished Vice Minister joining us later in the program. We would like to ask all speakers to keep their interventions to 3 minutes. So to begin, we would like to focus on practical experience. What has worked? What has changed in your operations? And what lessons can be shared with the sector? So I will first turn to Accor. Constance, thank you so much for being with us. We are very honored. Accor has invested significantly in measuring food waste, and this for several years now. When you started the journey, what surprised you the most from this data, and how it has concretely changed the way your kitchens or your food and beverage operations are managed?
Thank you, Svetlana, and good afternoon, everyone. Yes, indeed, at Accor, we've started a major measurement campaign back in 2023. So now we have like more than 3,000 hotels worldwide that are measuring their food waste on a monthly basis. So it's around 65% of our portfolio. And they are measuring it either manually or with some tools such as UNEP or BISC or other partners. And this allows us to really get detailed data, not only on where the food waste is coming from in these hotels, so food preparation, overproduction, buffet leftovers, guest plates, etc., but also on most wasted items. And while there are some items that are like common across brands and regions, like eggs, for instance, which is one of the most wasted item, what actually surprised us the most is how specific it is to each brand and each region. We have some substantial exemptions, like the coconut shells in Brazil or in some countries in Africa, for instance, that makes the overproduction waste particularly predominant. Or the peak in food waste during some periods like Ramadan, and we've seen the example of Green Ramadan, of the Green Ramadan campaign with Hilton, and obviously we've seen the same at Accor. So the major conclusion for us is that there is actually really no one size fits all approach at all. There isn't any unique solution that we can roll out through the whole portfolio, but we can have some approach with more tailored to some brands or country specificities. For some brands, for instance, it would go with adjusting the brand standards to change or reduce the number of items on the breakfast buffets, or reducing the buffets to switch on more a la carte offers in some more luxury brands where it's possible, or adding more live cooking stations instead of buffet or stuffing dishes during period like Ramadan. If food preparation is excessive, we will more work on the adjusting the recipes to integrate the trimmings in the menus. If there is one common thing that we've seen with the data since 2023 on the hotels that reduce the most their food waste, is that the one that reduce the most their food waste is actually the ones that, as David was saying just previously, that are using this data at hotel level to make it part of the decision-making process and to better forecast and use the solution that would be really relevant for the hotels.
Thank you so much, Constance.
Thank you.
Virginia speaking here. You cannot see me pinned on the screen because we no longer fit. So we decided to leave the space to you as our guests. Thank you so much for sharing those very interesting findings. I would like now to turn to Álvaro Sánchez-López from Iberostar Hotels and Resorts, basically to continue diving a bit deeper on strategies that have worked. For example, which would you say is the specific operational change, Álvaro, that has delivered the most significant reduction in food waste, and why did it work? Was it buffet design? Was it portioning, kitchen management, other?
Hi, thank you for having me here, and good afternoon to everyone. I would like to focus on what I think are the fundamentals, okay? Because of course we can go into the details, but based on our experience, what I consider are the main fundamentals or the foundations of some of the achievements that we've achieved so far is the, first of all, people, culture, the focus on having the right mindset, the right culture regarding waste reduction in the hotels at the operational level. And second, data, actionable data that allows us to put the efforts in the right place, because many things could be done in all the hotels of the portfolio. But before going into a bit of detail into these two, let me take a step back just to give you a bit of context of the overall circular economy strategy at Iberostar. We began systematic work and the journey for regarding circular economy in 2019. And that same year, we committed to reduce to a minimum waste sent to landfills globally. Okay, and anything that we've done regarding food waste can be seen in that context. Taking into consideration that most of our hotels are all inclusive, around 60%, or between 65% of the waste that is being generated in the hotels is food waste. So food waste is critical for us. And just coming back to the two foundations that I was mentioning before. First of all, culture and mindset. I think, in my opinion, a critical element in the achievements has been our 3D department. We have a 3D department that consists of 250 people globally. And this, thanks to this team, and to the commitment, we have achieved like an outstanding degree of waste separation in all the hotels of the portfolio. But also, we've been successful, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, in disseminating this right culture in the teams, so they are more autonomous, and they understand, very importantly, why they're doing what they're doing. And then regarding data, of course, you need data to know where to put the focus, and WINA has been a really important ally for us in that sense. We began working with WINA also in 2019, and that first year, with the combination of working with people and working with the technology, we achieved 90% food waste reduction in the first year. It is true that in the first year you have more opportunity, but since then we've been achieving systematically food waste reductions since 2019. Last year, just to give you an idea, we managed to reduce food waste by 4% relative to the previous year, to 2024. So, as I was saying before, being food waste 60% of the overall waste generation in our hotels, the work that we've done so far has been instrumental in achieving overall reduction of 80% waste sent to landfills globally. And I insist again, the combination of people and technology are the foundations of the work that we've done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Álvaro. This is very inspiring, and it's really interesting to see how your response resonates also with what Constance just mentioned. Behavioral change, adapted messaging, adapted to the context, culture, really company culture, and then, of course, measurement. Thank you. Now I would like to turn to Constance, Hotels and Resorts. Javed, you worked on estimating financial savings associated with food waste reduction. Could you share what these assessments have revealed and how demonstrating cost savings helped you to drive the action internally in your company?
Thank you very much, Svetlana, and for this opportunity to join this panel with all these esteemed partners. It's true, we have been working on that for a few years now. At Constance Hospitality, actually, food waste has always been part of our traditional key performance indicators for decades. It was a metric used by the executive chefs to review their food costs, especially for buffet or staff restaurants, since the waste from a la carte restaurants were kind of minimal. The opportunity came about in 2022, where we got the chance to partner with Light Blue Consulting and on a pilot project. And from there, we started our journey in food waste with the food intel technology, that is the FIT system, brought about by Light Blue Consulting. They helped us in getting insights into our waste generation streams at every stage of our process. And this really transformed our conversation internally among the leadership, among the kitchen teams. Because the moment you begin to quantify food waste properly, you actually realize very quickly that food waste is actually a hidden pit, financial pit within our operations. So because of our waste management strategy at Constance Hospitality that revolves around the 4 R's, that is, we lay emphasis on refusing to generate waste before addressing the traditional reduce, recycle mechanisms. So it became evident that we had to integrate efficiency into the very definition of luxury hospitality. From the FIT system, the reference cost per kilo of food waste was actually $4, representing roughly 5% to 15% of total food purchasing cost. But across our assessment, it actually amounted to $19 per kilo due to the high value items that we use in our operations. And it doesn't even reflect the actual cost of food production. In an island context where we operate, as the environmental cost involved in the transportation over long distances, storage needs, production, staffing, and even eventual disposal is not even accounted for. So the true cost of food waste is actually much higher than the raw ingredient value. And to give some context, we actually managed to accomplish 45% reduction since May 2023, when we implemented it across 34 recording points. The second aspect of what we achieved was in terms of data patterns, and I'm very happy to say that I kind of find myself aligned to all the stakeholders who have already discussed about it. So the FIT system was also helpful in understanding those patterns by meal period, by occupancy level, and even by guest profiles. We also found that high-value ingredients like proteins or buffet staples, which are produced in volume, account for a disproportionate share of the financial cost. So having these kind of data patterns creates immediate alignment at the leadership level because it speaks directly to the operational efficiency and margin optimization. At the kitchen level, it creates ownership among the teams. The chef and the teams begin to see in real time how small adjustments in forecasting, portioning, or menu design is translated into significant savings. Hence,
Thank you so
measuring
much.
food waste.
Sorry.
No, I was
Please finish your
concluding.
phrase. I'm so sorry for interrupting. Yes, please.
It's okay. I was concluding actually, measuring food waste, the most powerful insight, I believe, is what actually Peter Drucker said: we can only manage what we measure.
Thank you so much, Javed. Just to make sure we understand you correctly, and sorry for interrupting. $19 for 1 kilo? This is the figure that you mentioned. That's impressive, right? Sorry, Just wanted to make sure I understood the message well. Virginia, over to you.
Impressive indeed. Thank you for reiterating the importance of measuring and how much we learn when we start really embarking on this endeavor. I would like now to hear from Benjamin from Light Blue. You also have a lot of experience working directly with hospitality businesses. And question is how, I mean, it builds a bit on the point Svetlana just highlighted, how food waste measurement is translating into cost savings for hotels and for cruise operators. Could you share a few examples on this matter?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you very much. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate that. So maybe just to give a bit of context, food waste is a topic I've been working on for the past 13 years. I consider myself a food waste geek. And we have been working on very large different type of customers throughout the years. So beside what have been mentioned, for sure, data monitoring is just essential. Mindset, as Alvaro was sharing earlier, is essential. I would add the component of training and change of procedures, which was also reflected in the previous presentation. So big kudos to the colleagues and on the work on the Green Ramadan. So maybe on the financial side, I think it has been something that has been obsessed me for so long, because I was trying to understand, since I started pretty early, had all those case studies showing all the volumes of food going to the bin. I was like, why are hotels and hotel GMs not moving faster on this topic? And I realized that the way to calculate the financial lens of A, the cost of food waste, and B, how to measure financial impact was actually not that straightforward. So we decided to really take a deep dive into the financial impact of food waste, and realized that first, there are some misconceptions around the actual true cost of food waste because of the scope of work. If your hotel is focusing typically on the all-day dining, and you happen to have a pretty large hotels with production kitchen, your staff canteen, banqueting, fine dining, etc., then you're only looking at a small portion of your operation. So if you measure that, translate it into like kilos equal USD, then you'll be like, well, it's quite okay. But if you start having a comprehensive approach, then it's usually a different story. So this is important. The financial KPIs used by the industry are also incomplete, and that's where we're getting a bit like challenging the status quo. There is a need to go beyond the food cost percentage and the top line, or just the GOP. You need to be looking at the cost per cover. You need to look at purchasing. You need to be able to translate the volume wasted through weighted average to a cost per kilo per recording point. And then there is an importance to be able to define a clear baseline, and moving forward, calculating the financial impact for each of the participating, I would say, outlets, and being able to track not only the food cost percentage, but also the cost per cover, while also tracking the volume purchased, which is often like being out of consideration. So to give you an example, a hotel that weighs about 500, that has about 500 guests per day would waste the equivalent of $250,000 a year. So this is taking a $4 a kilo estimation. So as you guys know, depending on the location, it can go much, much higher. So typically savings that are experienced are 3 to 5% reduction on the cost per cover, and all the subsequent benefits on carbon emission and number of meals equivalent that are saved. We wrote a white paper on the financial impact of food waste from an owner's perspective that we would be happy to share with the audience. And I will stop here to leave some space for everyone.
Thank you, Benjamin. I still remember the amount of conversations that we had when we were developing the global roadmap for food waste reduction on the granularity of the metrics and how it really changes the number of decisions that you can make depending on the granularity of the metrics. We wish to accompany through the recipe of change with the adequate metrics, the process. It's complex, but I really think we have brilliant minds on board. So I'm sure it will be moving forward swiftly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ben. And I remember I actually met Javed for the occasion of another initiative that we have, the one on plastics. And I remember him telling me the fantastic work that you do together with Light Blue in terms of measurement and estimations of costs. And I remember this enthusiasm. So Javed, you were actually one of the first people I thought of reaching out to when we decided to go global because of this very impressive work that you do together with Ben from Light Blue. So thank you so much for being such an inspiring stakeholder in the industry. So my next question is to Florian from Club Med. Florian, thank you so much for being with us today. My question is the following. So in all-inclusive model built on choice and abundance, what have you found that actually work in terms of encouraging guests to change their behavior to waste less without making them feel restricted or judged, which is, of course, very important?
Yes, thank you, and good afternoon to you all. Before we jump to those initiatives we've led, I just wanted to state, as were previously mentioned, the importance of the food waste topic within tourism for obvious reason related to environmental but financial impact, as Benjamin was underlining. I would add also ethical considerations, considering the lack of food for given populations. And also to say that Club Med is quite concerned by the topic. It is recognized as one of the pioneers of buffet dining. And it is definitely associated with this image of festive, generous, abundant buffet that you're mentioning. And quite early, we felt the need also to dissociate the image from the reality of practices and performances. And this is why we've launched as early as 2012 measurement campaigns to understand the amount of waste that were generated by our buffet. And then tested various tools such as we know, but not only. We had a test with Light Blue in partnership with Benjamin. Being a pioneer of the buffet also implies that we have at Club Med an extensive experience and a strong awareness of the different stakes. Our practices and our equipments have continually evolved towards optimized food production, presentation, and consumption by guests. It is important to notice that this notion of abundance has shifted from quantity to quality and choice through the design of our menu plans, and also, maybe even more importantly, the design of the structure of the buffets themselves, with a focus on dishes preparation in individual portion, on demand, with cooking on demand, cooking in front of the guests, which also provides a bit of an entertainment. Also using platery that is adapted to reasonable portion sizes. And this enables us, to guide our customer in a high quality offer and entertaining offer towards reducing food waste, almost without having to mention it. So of course we do mention it, and we've deployed in all our restaurants awareness raising tools. But I personally believe that the most effective approach to reduce food waste is to make sure that it becomes less likely to happen within the structure of our buffet and within the structure of our offer. And if it does happen, to make it less significant. To make it less significant. So this is what I believe allows us to offer a generous but efficient buffet.
Thank you so much, Florian. It's very practical and also like nice list of steps, no, that one can really start looking into if you have a buffet operation. I'd like to dig a bit deeper on the connection with the guest experience and when we implement this type of adjustments. But I will shift to Jennifer in the interest of time. So moving now to Jennifer Clar, Six Senses. Can you, following the line Florian. Thank you, Florian, by the way. Tell us what specific strategies have been the most effective in influencing how guests consume food at Six Senses.
Yeah, thank you. I would say it's relatively similar to what Florian has mentioned as well. I think the easiest way to make sure that guests waste less is just by simply don't giving them an option to waste. And you do that by having single serve portions, the plating sizes. You actually control it for them. I mean, let's be honest, any guest who goes on a holiday, if we serve yogurt, for example, it's in a small glass jar and maybe it's just 3 tablespoons off, but then that's enough. And if the guests wanted to have more yogurt, they can take a second one, right? But truth is, any guest who comes on a holiday, they probably want to try one of each. So they'll have a little bit of yogurt, a little bit of charcuterie, some fruits, probably one little dish from the a la carte menu. And this way you're really able to control the portion sizes and the waste that comes with it. The same goes for, we heard it before, pastries and bread. You don't have to serve normal size croissant that you would find in the bakery down the street. If guests come to a hotel, serve them in smaller sizes, bite sizes. Maybe it is 2 bites, small miniature croissants. Guests can always go for a second serving if they wanted to, right? But truth is, most of the time, they will want to try that croissant and that pain au chocolat and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So by just controlling the size of the food that you're serving to them, you already have it under your control to make sure that you're wasting less, basically. I guess just in general, that mindfulness consumption, it's deeply rooted within our Eat with Six Senses philosophy. So one of our guiding principles is less is more. So we really try and focus more on the quality rather than the quantity. And again, I mean, if the guest wants to consume more, they always have the option to. We're not saying no, right? But then they have to come and take a second serving.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. This is super clear, and as always, very operational, very practical message received, and also thank you so much for being with us. I know it's pretty late for you. I believe it's complicated to organize roundtables where we can cater to all of the time zones. So thank you.
Not at all. My pleasure. Thank you.
So my next question would be to Sven from Radisson Hotel Group. Sven, thank you also very much for being with us. My question is quite simple. We know Radisson has very strong sustainability standards on group level. So what measurable results have you seen so far in terms of food waste reduction in practical application of your sustainability standards?
Thank you, Svetlana, and thank you everyone for being part of this. Usually happy to actually join this journey. Certainly, as Radisson Hotel Group, we look at ways how we can engage our guests, driving our guest feedback. That was actually my first point to make, because we do see that even though we have a very strong responsible business program in the hotels, which is rated high by our guests, main points of concern are still in the guest communication. Plastics, which was already mentioned earlier, but also food waste. And I think these two, guest communication and food waste, we've heard it already from quite a couple of speakers, are key in this process as well. For us, we are driving sustainability through a relatively small team, but we try to make impact on the floor where it counts. So we're focusing on verification and certification, for example, with true eco labels. And we see as well that they're thinking beyond carbon footprint. So really focusing more on the topics of environment, including food waste. So I think that that's a starting point for us to say we can actually activate this at hotel level. I don't need to repeat what has been said before with measuring first and then acting. That's something which is crystal clear for all of us. But we do see that it's important to make it part of a systematic approach rather than putting in a food measurement system, not providing the training as such, and then having a fantastic system in place but not seeing the results. So it's really making sure that it's part of the culture, part of the DNA, with active engagement of the teams. So continuous training is really key to this, but something which Radisson Hotel Group is really focusing on as well is annual campaigns. So for example, we have a Move to Zero campaign, which is initially largely focused on carbon, so energy efficiency, but diving into the scope 3 of calculations, which we've actually done with our verified net zero hotels, we see that food and beverage is about 50% of a carbon footprint. So there's two ways of looking at this: at the food of the source. So what are you actually putting on the menu in terms of carbon footprint, but also how do you measure and manage your food waste on the other end, and looking towards that circular processing. So it's really key that our hotels can have the facilities to update the different programs, and we do see that the huge impact, even if it's just for pilot projects. For example, we worked with the International Food Waste Coalition last year in 2 properties, both in APAC, so one in Bali and one in Bengaluru in India. By simply just being there for a week, measuring food waste, what goes to the bin, looking into the bin in full detail, even without a system, we see that we have a significant saving to do. So both hotels could do a reduction of food waste of 40%, and materializing actually, if you calculate it over a year's time, between 140 and 160,000 US dollars a year. And we have loads of these type of examples. Right now, we only have 25% of our hotel group actually using AI measurement tools in the kitchens. Most of the hotels are measuring their food waste, but actually using a system, that is still something which can grow. But there is the appetite. And like I started, this is not something just from a cost saving, from a sustainability point of view, but also from a guest satisfaction point of view, seriously something to implement. And that's why everyone needs to be part of this journey.
Thank you, Sven. Very interesting journey indeed. And thank you for reminding us that everything is interconnected. Actually, food waste and plastics as entry points for circularity, and at the same time as key strategies to reduce or lower carbon and be more resilient. Let me shift to TUI Group now so that we can get maybe a bit of a broader perspective, Melvin, from your different roles as tour operator and also hotel operator and investor. Where have you seen the most tangible progress in reducing food waste so far, and what approaches have proven most effective?
Yes, thanks, Virginia. And let me also recall some of the words that the others said already, very valuable information. But first of all, let me thank all the participants here who are dialing in from all corners of the world, I believe in different time zones. So thanks for taking the time to be here. But to answer your question there, so let me first of all allow to say that we think that food waste is still often too much seen as a very end station of a wider food supply chain. So the moment we waste food at the end of the chain, we probably have had dozens of preventative opportunities already. So whereas in the past we used to refer to food waste only when, for example, we threw away food at hotels, we now look at the entire food supply chain and the impacts throughout. So with food management being a strategic priority, that's exactly what we work on at TUI. Together with UN Tourism, in fact, TUI Care Foundation and the University of Cambridge, we're also working through Tourism Food for Good program, which is a global multi-stakeholder initiative that builds on the global roadmap for food waste reduction. And food waste is indeed a critical starting point, but as mentioned, it's only one part of a wider food system, and this collaboration goes further than that and looks into how we co-create long-term frameworks for sustainable food systems in tourism. We also work together closely with our TUI Care Foundation in their Field to Fork program, supporting farming communities to transition to sustainable and regenerative practices, maintaining biodiversity, but also produce local cultural delicacies, helping to create new income opportunities for farmers and local producers, and obviously to build resilience and create shorter supply chains with the local tourism sector. As just recalling what has been said at the start of the webinar, this social and economic component is also very important. Now, one very practical area in food waste measurement, obviously, are solutions like Winnow and Gytro, helping kitchen teams to understand exactly what is being wasted and where. And in our particular case, We know that Winnow is one of the launching partners here, but we have been working with Kitro in a number of TUI Blue hotels and on our TUI River cruise ships. And for example, at TUI Blue Kalamota Island, over a 14-month measurement period, this visibility helped us to reduce overproduction and the change of buffet practices, saving around 7.3 tons of edible food, which is the equivalent of over 16,000 meals and nearly 30,000 euros in food costs. So it does show how better data at kitchen level can translate basically directly into real food waste reduction. Another practical example, what we're looking into is what we're currently doing at the TUI Blue Hotel Barawa in Bali, where the focus obviously is first on preventing food waste at source, which is the most important circular step. For the unavoidable residual, the hotel is piloting an on-site composting system using microbial technology. And this system can process up to 150 liters of organic kitchen waste per day, turning this into a compost in around 7 hours, which is then used to garden the hotels, but also shared locally and closing the loop. So those are a couple of examples. And although these are mainly hotel-driven ones, we are working on similar projects, obviously together with our cruise division and our airline, to measure food waste and also to take action to prevent that.
Thank you so much, Melvin. We are, goes without saying, very honored to have TUI among our launch partners. And thank you so much for your time for joining this panel today. I took notes of the impressive figures you just mentioned, 16,000 meals. That's beyond impressive. And I think we have some interesting also key studies with all of your colleagues to develop here to really continue inspiring the industry. My last question for this first round is for a very, very important new signatory in our program, Melia Hotels International. Juan Ignacio, thank you so much for joining the team. So my question to you is the following. At your scale as a global hotel group, food waste is also a supply chain issue. So how are you working with suppliers to prevent upstream waste, upstream generation before it ever even reaches your operations? So really supply aspects of addressing this food waste issue. What's your approaches? What's your strategies?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting Melia Hotels to participate in this initiative. Thank you, Virginia, for the invitation the other day. I think we have many initiatives which are common to the rest of the companies and have been disclosed. But at our scale, we believe that food waste cannot be addressed only at kitchens and consumption points. It's something that needs to be fundamentally run through the supply chain and systems issue. And that's how we approach at Melia Hotels. How do we do it? Mainly on own and lease hotels. Remember that we, in our portfolio, 1/3, almost 1/4, 40% of the hotels are owned and leased. First of all, we are embedding food waste prevention into procurement and supply engagement. So it's not an operation afterthought, but we include food waste reduction in how we purchase goods and services and how we work with our business partners across the value chain. And this means aligning demand, packaging, product specifications, and delivery models with waste prevention objectives, rather than simply just managing surplus once it already exists. We apply ESG due diligence to key suppliers, so to give us visibility over upstream practices and allow us to prioritize dialogue, improvement, and alternative sourcing where there is an inefficiency or environmental risk if they are identified. So we are increasing our role as buyer to influence on how food is produced, processed, and supplied to our business units before they reach them. Third, we are developing circular partnerships with local producers. We have a specific sample in Mallorca where organic food waste from our hotels is composed and returned to local agriculture through specific agreements with local producers, and then it's reintroduced in the supply chain. And fourth, we work on improving forecasting, menu engineering, and consumption analysis in order to reduce volatility and over-ordering. I think that's been already mentioned by one of my colleagues. If you over-order, you overstock, you overproduce, and then you don't consume, and the waste, the organic waste is being produced. So that's one of the major drivers. And the fifth, as a global company, what we do is we measure and we put it in the knowledge of our board of directors in the periodicity of the meetings, which is once a term. We are able to tell them what's the organic waste we've been produced, what the organic waste by stay that we have between some other KPIs in order to be for the board of directors to be in the knowledge of how the main KPIs linked to sustainability are being developed in the company. So our ambition as company is to move from managing food waste to preventing it more by working upstream collaboratively with our providers and at system level, system and process level.
Thank you so much, Juan Ignacio. And thank you for addressing really also the issue from the perspective of supply, which is hugely impressive and hugely important. And now let us maybe to wrap up. And before we wrap up this session, just caught you maybe a bit off guard. In one phrase, colleagues, to wrap up this discussion, what's your recipe of change? And it's Nikki from Hilton who gave us this idea with Virginia. Just in one phrase, what would be for you the most important recipe of change to address food waste?
Just to conclude in a collective manner, because we have no more time, and in the sharing, spirit of the initiative, we thought let's build a recipe together. But you can just pick one idea, okay? So let's see what we can put together. Before I'm trying to give you time to think, just a few seconds. Just to comment on Juan Ignacio's points. You made me remember somebody that was in a panel the other day telling that circularity is a team sport. And I am really, very encouraged to hear how we are discussing also about the system that needs to be changed. So it's prevention, but it's also upstream and it's downstream, and really encouraged that we can advance in this together. So Svetlana, over to you. I guess the recipe must be ready now with its ingredients.
Let's see. I'm just reading in the order of videos appearing on my screen. Ben, you're first.
Okay, my recipe for change is awareness, measurement, leadership, and procedures.
Thank you. Constance.
Yeah, my recipe would be to analyze the data, better forecast, and integrate this into the decision-making process.
Thank you so much. Alvaro?
Data, invest in people, and governance.
Thank you. Javed?
I think they have mentioned already all the words that I have imagined. It's actionable data, leadership, and also food culture.
We love data in this group, clearly. Thank you. Florian?
I would go with data as well as what gets measured gets managed, and training and communication for guests.
Thank you. Sven?
Yeah, I would go with being pragmatic, realistic, practical and inclusive. Perhaps data-driven as well, but surely collaborative.
Thank you. Jen?
I would say focus on prevention, not on repair.
Absolutely. Melvin?
I would probably say act and implement, because we do a lot of talking throughout the world on many topics on sustainability, but it all comes down to like truly making the change, right? So if we talk less and actually do more, then we're already taking good steps.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And last but not least, Juan Ignacio.
Thank you. A systemic transformation that the one that is being proposed needs to be based on good collective practices, including buyers, producers, distributors, policymakers, and of course, the hotel industry.
Thank you so much. And Virginia, I'm handing over to you for the last segment of this session. Thank you so much, all.
Well, thank you very much to all our speakers. I think it's been extremely interesting and really look forward to continue exchanging knowledge throughout the implementation of the initiative. The discussion has shown us that really solutions are already existing, they are under implementation, and there's meaningful progress. We need to scale, right? And I guess one of the elements that are crucial for scaling is policy. So building on your last reflections about systemic changes, it's my great pleasure to invite a high-level perspective from a tourism policymaker. In this case, I'm honored to welcome Ms. Nancy Araceli Laca Ramos. She's the Vice Minister of Tourism of Peru. And today is a very important day in Peru. Vice Minister, thank you so much for joining. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. We hear you loud and clear. The image is a bit dark, but I assume it's really early in Peru. Thank you so much for connecting.
Thanks. Distinguished authorities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to participate in this significant global forum organized by UNEP Tourism, which calls us to take action against one of the foremost challenges of our time, food waste. In a sector as dynamic and visible as tourism, it's essential to advance toward more responsible and sustainable practices and to reflect on their ethical, economic, and environmental impact. It has been deeply enriching to hear the initiative that preceded me. As we have seen in the previous discussion, theory must now give way to immediate execution. Therefore, it's a great satisfaction that I inform you that today Peru officially approves the Circular Economy Roadmap for the tourism sector to 2030. We have decided to act and reaffirm our commitment to sustainability through a pioneering effort at both the national and regional levels, making a milestone in our public policy. This is not just another document. It is our strategic compass to transform the sector. We seek a tourism model that stops merely extracting value and begins to regenerate it. A tourism that does not measure success solely by arrivals, by the really positive impact on our communities. A tourism where competitiveness is, by definition, sustainable. Our roadmap traces the path, committing us to close urgent cycles, especially regards food. In Peru, we understand that every kilogram of food waste is a lot opportunity for social development and an unnecessary environmental cost. This progress is not an isolated effort, but the result of a process we have been driving in a progressive and coordinated manner. Under the framework of APEC 2024, we developed a strategic diagnosis study that allowed us to precisely map where and why value is lost on our tourism food chain. This analysis is our foundation to begin transforming failures into efficiencies, to buy smarter, to portion with precision, and to systematically valorize organic waste. What we previously saw as waste, we now understand as resources. However, transformation does not happen alone. It requires capacity, incentives, and leaderships. For this reason, through Senfotur, our official training institution that comprises of hundreds of stakeholders in waste management and the application of circular economy in gastronomy, are being strengthened. Because the transition only becomes real when it reaches the kitchens, the hotels, and the destinations, ensuring that sustainability becomes part of the DNA of our hospitality. Tourism has the unique capacity to influence entire value chains. By transforming tourism, we drive the transition toward a greener and more circular economy. From Peru, we invite you to join these efforts, to governments, to turn these strategies into public policies with clear targets, to the private sector to lead with innovation and understand that research efficiency represents profitability, to the international community to collaborate and scale the solution with urgency. We reaffirm our commitment to accelerating the transition toward a circular tourism model, one that is efficient, inclusive, and respectful of our planet. Peru has already started today, and we want to walk toward a future together with all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vice Minister. Muchísimas gracias. We would like to first congratulate you for the effort. Today, Peru is releasing the National Roadmap for Circular Economy in Tourism, a pioneering effort of integrating circularity in a national tourism policy document. So really bravo. I think it's very inspiring, and we definitely look forward to working with you, encouraging other policymakers, sharing your experience, and hopefully that will make it easier for many others to develop the enabling frameworks that are necessary for the private sector to really accelerate in the transformation. So really much appreciated. I wish you a fantastic event. You are launching the roadmap today, so we are really happy that you could connect and look forward to continue working together as you are a member of the interinstitutional working group on climate action in tourism that we have within our Executive Council. Muchas gracias, viceministra.
Muchas gracias, Virginia. Estamos muy orgullosos. Gracias.
Gracias.
So, Virginia, I guess it's time for us to conclude.
I guess I'm feeling sad, but I guess we have no other way around it. We already exceeded a bit the time planned. So one message from my end, I mean, as we conclude, I think reducing food waste in tourism is both achievable and necessary. So it requires collective action that we wish to create through Recipe of Change.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, all of you, for your enthusiasm for joining hands with us. And now I really hope it will be the beginning of a very fruitful collaboration altogether. And now I will just want to conclude by asking everybody to join hands with us, join the Recipe of Change, to measure food waste, to implement solutions, and to contribute to global efforts to halve food waste by 2030. We really, really look forward to working with you. Thank you again very much. And you can join the initiative by following this QR code or the links in the chat. Or if you do not have time to click on the links of the web chat, please go to One Planet Network website and you will see a lot of information about Recipe of Change. Over. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to working together.